White Sox director of hitting Ryan Fuller, who's in Arizona, as are most of the recent 2026 White Sox draftees. Um, I know you just said that it's better to talk about now than at the draft, but let's rewind to the draft, just as kind of for the sake of like an intro. Like you get referenced a lot by Mike Shirley when we're doing these calls. Can you kind of describe like what type of where you try to fit in role wise between like making your own evaluations, providing view of like how these guys might develop, and trying to facilitate scouts. Like I imagine it's like a lot of different, you know, complexities or competencies that you're trying to apply here, and not necessarily like, hey, I like this guy. So in your words, kind of how would you describe it?
Yeah, man, I love the draft. It's one of the most comprehensive but fun parts of the year. And it really starts months before we get to that room where Matt Grabowski, our R&D team, is going through and sending names my way. And what I'll then do is try not to read any reports about them, look at the swings, all the information we have, and I'll go through, kind of make my own notes of what I see, what we could work on based off their skill set. And then I'll kind of go through and rank the guys without knowing outside what people are ranking them as, and then go through, filter it with what our scouts are seeing, go through all the reports, and then kind of make my tiers of the guys that we want to go after. And from there, really good conversations with everybody who's seen them before. But Sherles, our scouts, they do such a good job of prepping these guys out ahead of time to make sure that we're not going through just numbers on numbers. It's really targeted the guys we want to attract and then go after. And then once we get in the room for draft week, it's a ton of fun to debate, go through what the scouts have seen, what we may be missing from the information we have. And then we get into the room, whittle it down to the guys we really want to target. And then you see how it unfolds. And it's a ton of fun.
What makes it fun for someone like you? It seems like it could be, enormously stressful. Something scouts evaluate themselves their entire year based off how 3 days go. What makes it enjoyable?
And you want to be incredibly respectful of what the scouts do. This is years upon years. A lot of these scouts have relationships with these guys dating back to when they were in middle school, freshmen in high school. So making sure that you're getting the full picture. But what's so fun is at the end of the day, we get to bring in 12 hitters to our organization to make it even better. So really want to be diligent about who we target and then try and go after to make sure that they're lining up with the values we have and the people we want to bring in too. So not just the skill sets, but also we've talked about the culture that Will has created, the type of guys that Getsy in the front office go after. We want to make sure that they're going to come in and fit the type of people we want to attract. So more than anything else, you get to look at these are really skillful players that we get to bring in the organization and just continue to rise that tide.
Maybe this winds up bleeding into your anecdotes, but at least for the top candidates for the three candidates for the top pick, with Cholowsky, Emerson, and Lackey, you're able to kind of bring them in to the stadium for workouts, assessments, and also just like other targets you have. What sort of measurements, whether it's like maybe something qualitative you're looking for in those instances, or objective stuff, do you really try to like value a lot or really key in on when you have a chance to like have these guys in house as targets beforehand?
The beautiful part of the draft each year is the information that not just the White Sox are collecting, but when guys go to the combine and you're able to get Hawkeye data. So the information that we have to make really intelligent decisions off of is just totally different than what it was in the past. So rather than looking at a swing and saying, there might be bat speed, we're now able to know exactly what percentile they're going to be in college, what's that relative to the big league. So we're making much better, more informed decisions. But each workout that guys come to rate field is a little bit different. So Rock was more of sitting down at lunch, the conversation we have with him rather than the workout. But other guys, Landon Thome, last year we had him for a workout at rate. We're able to collect all the information using Hawkeye. So we're able to literally get every piece of information from the on-field workouts, and that's been an unbelievable resource the last 2 years for us to have and make really good decisions off of. But yeah, the Von Lackey, unbelievable. Grady Emerson, the type of interview he gave in Arizona at the combine. These guys, all three of them, quality people who are going to be really good big leaguers.
So, there was that awesome, Jesse Rogers piece on ESPN about kind of your guys' process and, how it kind of went down to the wire. Just, from your perspective, well, and how close of it was a call at top one, or how much, how close were they kind of all bunched together, and what ultimately kind of was, some separating skills that Rock brought to the table for you that really, is kind of top of mind.
Extremely difficult decision. And you look back just at history of the college guy versus the high school guy and how it's played out over the years. And obviously, each decision is going to be a little bit different, but you want to make sure that you're looking at the high school guy the right way. You're looking at the college guy. Okay, what's it going to look like in 3 years if it were apples to apples here? But more than anything else, trying to treat it as both these guys are incredibly talented. What do we think we can do with them? And the thing we talked about, especially on the hitting side, is there's a training age for each guy. So one hitter may be 21, another guy might be 18. But when it comes to how much they've trained, how much information they have, what adjustments are they able to make, we really thought that Rock had so much upside, where it's obviously he's been one of the best college performers there has been, but we felt like talking with him, like, man, there's a lot more that we could build on with Rock here. So we felt like although he was older age wise, the training age was a little bit lower, and the resources that we're able to provide for him, give him a little bit more feedback, targeted instruction. We feel like the sky is really the limit for him, and he already has a really high floor.
Todd Father, are you hitting some games this summer? What's the deal?
Oh, of course, and it's real simple. Scotty Braun, you know how it is. You go to SeatGeek and you can find any deal you want in any section you want. Even if the game's sold out, go to SeatGeek and you'll find something that you love, affordable for your family, that you can enjoy anywhere, anytime, at any ballpark and stadium you want. Enjoy it. It's the best opportunity to go see a beautiful game of baseball.
And that's the thing. You can be so last minute. SeatGeek is the official ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball. They have you covered for all of your baseball ticket needs the entire summer. They also have over 70,000 events on SeatGeek. That includes concerts, festivals, all kinds of sporting events. So go check it out right now, FT fam. The code is Territory10 for 10% off your next set of MLB tickets at SeatGeek. That's 10% off with promo code Territory10. Make sure you click the link in the description to download the app, and then the code automatically is added to your account so you can use it later.
So I think I was quipping about it a little bit, and I think it's a lot of it's kind of reflective, like maybe the age of like how paramount player development is now, and how essential we think of it as, whenever you're acquiring anybody, trade of or a draft. It's like, well, what is the plan of the org for him? But it did strike me. I've never covered a 1-1 before, but this seems like probably more than past years of how much you hear we can get this guy better on the day one coming in, as opposed to like this is a finished product. This is how quick he's going to get to the majors. It's something certainly it's been tagged to Rock as well. So what was kind of what's kind of what you really like when you talk about like we really think there's a lot of upside? What's kind of the tools that are present here that you really like right off the bat, but also kind of where you see that there's a lot of runway for him to get better?
It's a huge credit to Getsy for getting Rock to Chicago for that visit too. That's been well publicized now, but for him to spend a ton of time with Chris, with Josh Barfield, with myself, getting lunch, and then getting to talk with him, asking him, how do you train? What resources have you had? Who are the people you really rely on in your life when it comes to hitting? So got a really good idea of what he valued, what we could do, and then talk about it together. So that's the really cool part when we were sitting down, of like, let's throw it out there. Here's what we see. And especially what we talked about a lot is, okay, people are going to talk about mechanics. We feel confident that just from the training we do, different positions we could put you in, that stuff is going to clean up on its own. With a lot of the guys that we have acquired or drafted, putting a plan in place, that stuff kind of irons itself out. But more than anything, the thing we talked about with him is the before two strikes and with two strikes. A lot of college guys have, that two strike position they'll get into, and they don't know that literally half their at bats is going to be in two strike counts. So making sure that looked at the numbers, here's what we saw before two strikes. Like most hitters, those are the most productive spots in terms of counts. And then with two strikes, here where you were at, and it was probably lower than he thought he was. So rather than going pre 2K and then with two strikes, a whole different setup, loading pattern, let's just go before 2 strikes, and that is your swing. We want you taking it before 2 strikes, with 2 strikes. And then more than anything else, just talking about approach with Roch. Okay, here's what they're going to try and do to you. Here's what they did at the end of the year. How do we keep it in a spot? Where do the pitches have to start for you to then maximize the spots you do damage on? So more than anything else, it's the same plan we talk about with guys. Put a plan in place for you to move efficiently, approach that maximizes where you do damage and lets you take the spots you need to, and then let's go train it. And it's been awesome, even this past week in Charlotte for 4 days, and now in Arizona, putting that plan into place, and you see really good progress already.
What jumps out at you in seeing him kind of put that in place?
He is all these guys at draft camp, how quickly they're able to make adjustments. And to their credit, we've kind of thrown them in the deep end here. So rather than, okay, we're going to spend draft camp getting to know you, we spent a lot of time watching a ton of video, collecting Hawkeye information. So when they came here, they got a card and it was, here is your plan. Here are the drills we want to see. Give us feedback as we go through. And we talk about leveling up. So they go through their flips, their darts, and then it's okay. After 15 minutes, we're going to do something very challenging and let's see where it breaks down. And these guys have been awesome. But like all the guys here, Roch, you give a quick fix. Okay, here's why that happened. Here's the adjustments to make. And boom, he's able to make those adjustments really quickly. And the big league guys, we call it calibrating. Like we always want to be calibrating in here, constantly calibrating. Like the game is going to have you make adjustments constantly. So that's the thing we got to be able to do.
There's, I feel like a line of like baseball hardcore data argument that like all two strike approaches aren't worth it, that the diminished amount of impact isn't worth the improved contact. Um, I imagine you are less maybe extremist, but also are probably aware of kind of like that those type of what's data studies that have been done or stuff like that. Are you more, if it's case by case? Are you more maybe it's less making physical adjustments that dampen the impact of your swing and more about approach adjustments that you can kind of do to get what you were trying to get out of a two strike approach without lessening the impact? What's your overriding philosophy on two strike approach, which probably has a lot of exceptions because you individualize everything?
Exactly. Yeah, each case is going to be different, but you alluded to it perfectly. It's not just one thing, right? There's a lot of options we have when it comes to 2 strikes. A lot of guys will just go to the physical one where it's take away movement, widen out, understand the idea there. For the guys who do that, we say if that is 50% of your plate appearances with 2 strikes, you need to be training at 50% of the time too. And usually there's a disconnect there where they take their normal pre 2K swing 99% of the time in the cage. And then when it comes game time in the most pressure situation with 2 strikes, when your back is up against the wall, anyways, then they're testing it out. So we want to make sure if it is a physical adjustment, we're stress testing it in training. But more than anything else, what we talk about with the guys is before 2 strikes, that's plan A. That is when we are on the hunt. We are looking to get a pitch over the middle to hit hard on a line. But when we do get to 2 strikes, and that's going to happen, at least 40, 50, 60% of the time, we want to make sure that those adjustments are present. So now it could be the thought of let the ball travel a little bit deeper. Our ball flight, rather than high through the gaps, is going to be now lower. We're able to have more barrel control. So for each guy, it's a conversation of, is it a physical adjustment? Is it a mental adjustment approach? And then being able to stress test it in training is what we want to do before we get out into the game and it's a 2 strike count where we're trying to do something new.
So we talked earlier this year about Caleb Onomer and about how this year is kind of interesting for him because I haven't looked at the numbers recently, but he was getting like thrown more sliders than fastballs. He's basically being pitched like he's a middle of the order major leaguer in a playoff series almost. And if he was a draft prospect, you'd probably be like, oh, the contact's really backed up this year after like his breakout season. So in that context, how did you kind of view Rock's junior year versus sophomore year? Because obviously he has the great sophomore season and everyone kind of pegs him as number one overall prospect. And then the junior numbers are extremely good, but they're not quite as good as the previous year. But he's obviously getting pitched like a guy who just looked like the best player in the country the year before. How did you what were your takeaways from viewing those years side by side, and maybe what the view of the player that you came out with as a result?
You said it really well. Like, still an unbelievable year that he put together. And obviously, it would be amazing if every year one is better than year two, and you just keep stacking. But obviously, like, there's learning that it's going on. And for all these guys, it's new pitchers that you're facing, more travel, just a lot of new things are thrown at you. And we want these guys to be able to make adjustments. But the cool part, and especially when you look at like Caleb Bonham last year at a lower level, he did show really great contact skills. He's moving up levels, he's being pitched to differently, where we see that comes down. But man, another skill shines even more with that damage this year, where he's able to hit balls incredibly hard on a line. So we have, obviously, James, we've talked about decisions, contact, damage. Each guy has a different flavor. Most big leaguers have 2 out of 3 above average skills. So making sure that we see with these guys, and Roch obviously shows like really strong decision making. You see, okay, does have the ability of when they throw it over the in the zone over the middle, puts the ball forward and hits it really hard on a line. So looking at those years rather than just looking at the raw numbers, being able to look at the skills and seeing how they held up too. And obviously, he's going to be 1-1. Everybody's going to know him as he goes through. He's going to be pitched to a little bit differently, kind of what Bonham going through now that he's a top prospect, hitting over 20 home runs right now at this point of the year. So again, helping them understand it's a 2-0 count. You're probably not going to get a fastball right down the middle. How do we prepare for that and still stay in our zone? So more than anything else, that's a fun part of these guys learning and helping them make adjustments.
He obviously faced a lot of like try to bust him in his hand, like not let him get his arms extended, as a junior year. What kind of adjustability do you see in the swing that gives you kind of optimism of him just kind of getting better at handling that as he progresses?
Man, everybody talks about, the arm bar that's there. Feel really good about where he is. The really cool part that Roch has is a lot of guys who do have arm bars that are, it's detrimental to them because the arm stays stuck back. But what Roch is so good, he's able to have some lead arm adjustability to suck the hands in when the ball is running out of space inside, but then he also has length to stay through. But more than anything else, you see a guy who's at his best turning the bat from back of the zone, and it stays through the zone all the way through. And we've talked about the home run he hit at Globe Life too. We had Hawkeye from that too, and we're able to kind of put skeletal overlays of here's a really good swing, and he's looking at it like, man, that's one of my favorite swings. So we already had kind of a swing signature of what it looked like when he thought he was at his best, which was really cool. And then to show him like, here are the things that we really value. You're able to do this consistently, get into those spots, man, like the rest takes care of itself. So more than anything else, they're going to try the 4 quadrants, the ride fastballs at the top of the zone, depth breaking balls down, and then 2-seam running in, sweepers running away. And more than anything, making sure that they're starting in spots that you can handle. And with Roch, they'll go inside a little bit and then try and pull you off the plate later, making sure you have a plan going in because we're not going to be able to cover everything.
Howard, my dad was T-boned by a utility vehicle and is in surgery now. What should I do?
I'm sorry to hear about that. It's really great that you're getting him the medical care and treatment that he needs right now. These are 3 important things that I think you need to know. Injuries are unexpected and turn lives upside down. I'm Howard Ankin, and I'm here to help. If you or a loved one have been hurt at work or in a car, truck, or rideshare accident, call 312-6-million. Injury law made personal. That's Ankin Law.
So you referenced Landon Thome earlier and getting kind of objective measurements, the whole rundown. What kind of stood out to you from that process, and how does it kind of compare to now being up faced with the real thing, both in Charlotte and Arizona, about what kind of maybe what maturation we've seen since then?
Yeah, Landon came in a year younger than everybody that we had last year at the workout. So you saw immediately that the guys are getting ready to get drafted. He's still got a year ahead, but the hit tool, man, is really there. Like the bat path is special. The ability to hit breaking balls, to hit fastballs, like this is a really advanced hitter. And when you look at him and say, man, this guy puts a little bit more weight on, gets stronger, like the normal development for a high school player, we already have a really strong hit ability, and then you project out what's it going to look like a year from now after he's crushing it in the weight room, 2 years from now when he's getting more experience under his belt. And what we talked about with Landon too, thinking about, okay, the guys that you're at draft camp with, there's 3 high school guys, the rest are college. He's able to hit with them, and now think of 3 years of us training at this level like we are here, 3 years of you crushing the weight room. Like, it's going to be really exciting when you put the innate skills he already has with the development physically. He's going to be a really special one.
This is probably only the first probably of many amateur scouting takes I'll throw at you, but like something in watching Landon video today is like seeing like his upper half and lower half. He kind of like coils in a way that's pretty in sync with each other and also pretty compact already. And given you're talking about him adding strength, it seems like there's pretty good stability there. Even without that at this point. What kind of about whether it's that or something that's actually makes sense, what about his operation kind of gives you optimism, when you mentioned like not just the performance of the hit ability but kind of like the way it works, making it look sustainable?
Yeah, you talk about the lower body and the upper body. Those are always areas you're looking at, and how do they work together? Like, are there reciprocal movements? We see a lot of young guys, they might be looking for power and they have a humongous leg kick, but their upper body is very static and still. There's two different parts there. There can be easy disconnection. With Landon, it is a synced up move. Like, the lower half complements the upper half really well. He gets to a strong base position at launch where he's able to be adjustable, and he's rarely off balance. So, like, those things right there, you look at good decision maker. When they throw it over the heart, he's able to put it forward. And then as he gets stronger, those are naturally going to be those doubles into the gaps and the home runs that find a way out. But really, really advanced hitter, the hit ability, understanding of, okay, fastball at the top, I'm going to have to flatten out a little bit. Okay, depth breaking ball, I'm going to have to get under it, keep it on a line to the outfield here. So, in terms of how to combat different pitches coming at him, has a really great idea of how to do that.
He like what's kind of the difference between maybe what his initial intake camp is going to look like versus Roch? Both obviously the physical component of what you want to develop is different, but even when you're talking about like prescribing, the drills that you want guys to do, is that vary a lot between the college and high school hitters, or is it something that kind of is tailored to every individual?
Love draft camp in Charlotte. You get them for the first 4 days. We fly out to Arizona. We continue building. The main priority here is creating habits that are going to help them once the bridge camp games start or they go to an affiliate. So more than anything, these guys schedule wise have the same setup daily. Now within that schedule, they have their own cards of, here are the drills you're working on based off the movement solutions we're trying to build upon. So Rock's card is going to be different than Landon's, is going to be different than Braden Holcomb's, but all these guys are going in. It's 15 minutes of drill work, 15 minutes of something very challenging, and all these guys are going through. But the way we're able to individualize with the cards, the drill sets, the different bats and balls that these guys are using makes it really cool. Within the half an hour they are in the cage before we go to the field, they're doing the same type of environments and setups, but how they're going about it is totally different. So it's really cool to have them all together, whether you're a high school guy or college guy, but still having it be everyone together, but your work is very individualized.
Cole Prosek, you guys obviously valued him very highly based off, he's a rich young man now, but he looks like maybe somewhat similar to Landon, probably more older and filled out, but similar in the sense that like it doesn't seem like there's a big move to get to the impact that he's already showing. What kind of stood out about you about kind of very exciting present tools for such a young hitter, but also kind of the room to where there's still some ceiling to unlock?
Yeah, with Cole, this is one that the scouts were really excited about. I was really excited about the swing, Sherman Johnson as well. And then Phil Nevin, knowing him pretty well, was really excited about Cole. So we were watching him the whole time. And we really feel like between he and Landon, we got two of the best high school bats in the draft here. And another advanced lefty swing, really cool bat path with him, like has the ability to get vertical and stay through the zone. so long. And we're seeing that out here with his ability, especially in Arizona, to go pole to pole on a line where it's not a lazy fly ball getting out of the Arizona thin air. It is hard line drives that are going to almost go through the wall. So he's been incredibly impressive, a really mature kid that wants to be challenged, wants feedback, wants to be coached. So he's going to fit in really well. But yeah, he is a physical one with an advanced bat path, and getting those challenging reps, he's able to make adjustments quickly.
He's at least I think the ding on him was supposed to be you know, having a bit more expansion than others, or at least like showing a little bit in some, you know, showcase environments. Just what I know, we've talked so much about kind of what the you know, different swing decision tools you guys have for training, but what maybe stands out about where you guys can make progress with Cole, and you know what kind you can offer him.
Yeah, you hit it well. So contact and damage were definitely on Cole's side. So when we looked, and what we've already talked about with him is that his ability to touch the baseball sometimes leads to expansion out of the zone. His main focus is improving the decision making. Like, man, take a pitch on the edge, you're going to force them over to the middle more, and that's where you do your damage. So we have the med ball back there to be able to make good decisions. If it's not going to hit the med ball, don't swing. If it's going to hit the med ball, swing. They're going to get reports after every game. So more than anything else, letting him know that, man, your superpower is you can make contact all over and hit it really hard on a line. But as you go up levels, that's going to become harder and harder to do on pitches that are on the black to off the plate. So making sure that we stay within the strike zone, but more than anything else, helping him understand of, you already got really good skills. We're going to build on top of that with really good decision making.
Something you know, Mike Shirley said, you know, it's kind of a, you know, different department as far as like, you know, defensive position and all that, but saying that like they felt the bat was mature enough that, you know, if they wanted a defensive assignment that would match that, you know, in terms of like catching be a longer path. So from your perspective, just like how advanced, like do you see this as like a more, you know, quick rising profile than like maybe the typical, you know, 19-year-old guy coming out of high school?
You see it with the bat. He's very advanced already. The fun part about this is we're going to be able to see. And what we talk about with the guys is like video games, like we've talked about before, James, like each level is a challenge. You want to go to that level and meet the challenge and show that I'm ready for that next level. So all these guys know it's not, hey, get out of Arizona, go to Kannapolis. It's get to Kannapolis, beat that level, and on we go until we get to Chicago helping the team. But given where he's starting is really exciting for a high school guy. And we've thrown a lot at him and challenged the heck out of him so far, and he's responded really well. So looking forward to seeing him meet those challenges.
I wanted to ask you about Weingartner because I saw him at Super 60 in January, and you know, Combine's a very tantalizing place to see this guy. He kind of just does everything physically well that they test out further there. But obviously, him being a two-way player, it's probably a little less polished on the hitting side, and you know, you can see the potential for big time impact. But you know, watching video, like the hit tool seems like maybe there's still room to take advantage of, you know, how much athleticism he really has. Um, in the box more than he's even got to. But what kind of excites you about this project? What made you like a big advocate for, you know, someone who's, you know, obviously coming out of high school, so there's a bigger length there, but maybe, you know, isn't as, you know, polished as a hitter as the other two guys were talking about.
Man, we are so excited to have Alex Weingartner. A huge credit to Matt Grabowski and the acquisition team. We're really high on him. The decisions, the contact, the damage, really in a strong spot, especially for a guy from the Northeast. Like, man, we get some really good reps on him. This guy is going to be a stud. You talked about the athleticism. He flies. The plays he's making in center field, even just in practice, is so impressive. And if you were to bring him in, have no idea who he was, you would think this guy went through 3 years of college. I mean, just how physical he is already. So, like all high school guys, going to have to make adjustments, but from the skill set that we're starting from, the athleticism, the ability to make quick adjustments, this guy, to get him where we did in the draft, just so exciting. So yeah, huge credit to Sherles for getting that done where it did, because this guy, you look at him and it could easily be an early round pick.
Is, things like how much, especially at like this stage, do you feel like there's still, especially with the athleticism present, is there adjustability in like figuring out what his move is going to be? Is it some, how much like is there, this is how he swings, it's intrinsic to it, versus like, hey, if we feel like this load is a little late, we have a lot of room or we have a lot of physical ability to adjust it. Like, is it easier to move the clay around at this stage of the development?
Absolutely. And that is the fun part of draft camp, is that we have educational time each day. So we're giving presentations. And at this point now, a year and a half into the program being in place, we have plenty of guys to point to, not in the minor leagues, but in the big leagues, of Miguel Vargas made this change. Here are the things that Colson had to work on to find a new level of performance. So whether you're 19 or you're 24, 25 in the big leagues, or you're Randall Grichuk working with Derek Showman and Joel McKeithen making small approach changes, everyone in the organization is working on something. So if you're coming in thinking, hey, I got it all figured out, it's going to be a wake up call. But the credit to the scouts of looking for guys who are going to fit in really well, who want to be challenged, who want to be coached, these guys have been awesome. But for Alex Weingartner, all the way to the big leagues, we preach being adjustable, being coachable, taking feedback from the game. And like, all these guys are going to make adjustments at some point, and really bullish on what he's going to be able to do given where he's starting and then what we're going to be able to build together.
So you came on here saying that you had anecdotes from camp. What stood out? What's been either big moments that are kind of like, oh right, this is as exciting as we thought it was, or what's been kind of interesting to see so far or implement in the few days you've had?
Yeah, all these guys are going through the fun part that we do at the end of every round. So they'll take 4 rounds, the last round off something challenging, 2 machines side by side, a fastball slider, we're alternating through or mixing. These guys play an RBI game. So it's bases loaded, 1 out. How many RBIs can you score? We got Phil Nevin as our referee in the back awarding points. But the caveat is, if you hit it up into the turtle where it would be a pop out, you go back to 0. Or if you hit a ground ball that would be a double play, you go back to 0. So every day has been a different winner. But man, the guys, when it's time to compete, you see a different level of these guys going to. And it was the same thing last year with Billy Carlson. He won just about every day in there, but it's been so fun. And you see the guys start jawing at each other a little bit, but you'll see Roch turn it on a little bit more when that competition goes on, where he needs to get that point. He locks in, gets it done. But all these guys have been really impressive, and especially the college guys. We have some really physical bats here. Clay Burdett, Braden Holcomb, Fitzwater, some really polished bats that are able to just kind of like muscle it around a little bit, which has been really fun to watch as well.
You mentioned kind of having these examples to point to with Vargas or Colson. Do you, even with some of the college guys who have hit for power, but maybe the contact piece is what needs to grow here? Like, do you point to or I don't know, can you point to guys like Colby Shelton or DePino a little bit, or like are there relevant kind of translations there that have made connections with in working with these guys the first couple of days?
Yeah, the cool part on their cards, we show them their grades that we had. So here's the grade we had for decisions, for contact, for damage, and they could see, oh man, I didn't realize the damage was going to be that high, or my decisions were that good, or contact was a little bit lower than I thought. And it leads to the conversations of, okay, that is why we're doing what we're doing in the cage, to make sure that we keep your strengths, but then we're able to add on to, whether it be decisions, contact, or damage, what you need to. So it's been really fun to see the guys lean into that and understand, here are the skills I need. And then to be able to point to the guys last year, it was a year ago that Anthony DePino was here getting into pro ball, and you fast forward a year and he is doing exceptionally well in AA. So we want the guys to look up to the guys that came before them, and then share the stories of Anthony DePino here. Man, how much he leaned into, I want to use the skinny bat on all of our foam ball challenging drills because I want to make sure my contact stays high. The more we can share that and give them, hey, that guy, he's fighting to get to the big leagues in Chicago too. That's a really limited number. We got 13 guys up there. Everybody's fighting for him as we make our way. We want that to really get the guys excited about it, but also understand that it's hard to get up there, and whatever we have available to us resource wise, we want to utilize.
Well, Ryan, this was awesome as always. I really appreciate you coming on. That's unless you want to tell us where like Roch is playing affiliate wise or anything like that. That's all we had for the day. But I really appreciate you coming on.
He'll be playing in an affiliate. Can't wait to see.
Thank you, Ryan, for that confirmation. Appreciate it.
Thanks, James.